Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the McGonagall Boxing Podcast. So basically we are 2 days away now from Ugas Spence. Personally, I cannot wait. I think this is a really good fight. A far more competitive fight than I think some people are alluding to. I think for many factors, I think you've got to realise that Ugas is coming off a career high victory against the legendary Pacquiao, albeit a faded Pacquiao, but his confidence is sky high. Before that, for me and many others, he beat Porter for the WBC title. He's got the renowned Salas in his corner. His confidence is high. Spence, however, let's be honest, has fought once in nearly 3 years now. Obviously that horrendous car crash, which was awful to see. He was in a coma, and I don't think you can underestimate just how serious that was. That was horrendous for him, but he miraculously he's come back from that. I think the fact that he's still early 30s helps rather than late 30s. I also think the fact that he hasn't had much wear and tear in the ring up to that point also helped. He hasn't had any really hard seasoned battles besides the Brook and the Porter fight. So that helped in respect as well. And but he looked in a bad way. He ballooned up. But to come back with a unanimous decision win against Danny Garcia was impressive. However, for me, and I don't want to be too harsh because his first fight back since that, over a year out the ring, he got caught. He got caught quite a few times with the looping right hand from Garcia. He took it. Don't get me wrong, he kept coming, and don't get me wrong, he won that fight. His output, he backed Garcia up. A lot of time had Garcia on the ropes, jabbed him, went to the body, and just basically countered Garcia majority of the time. But I don't think he had the same hand speed, the same velocity that he had prior to the car accident, and even prior to Sean Porter fight. And it worried me that he did get clipped, and he got grazed, and he got buzzed a few times. And what's Ugas' best shot? It's his overhand right. He pulled it down. I think unbelievably they gave that a slip. And that's absolute disgusting robbery, and that's what cost Ugas the fight. So make no mistake about it. He had Porter in all kinds of trouble late on in that 12th round. So Spencer's got to be careful. I know he does his homework on fighters, but the way I'm seeing him say he's going to just knock Ugas out, I think he's underestimating him a little bit, and he's got to be very careful because Ugas can make a dent in Spence. I mean, this could be a big shock. He could easily floor Spence, and probably, I'm not saying he stops him because Spence has proven he's got a tough chin, he's got durability, and he's got fantastic cardio, and he makes adjustments, but probably deservedly wins on points. However, I think what you saw in elements against Porter, they both fought Porter, and I think Ugas ironically dealt with Porter it's as well, if not better, than Spence did. Ugas can't fight on the back foot, so if Spence finds a way of countering him and making him back up, then I think it's going to be Spence, and I think it'll be Spence by stoppage. But I think Ugas is so big for a welterweight, so rangy, and so kind of tough himself. He's got a great chin. He took flush punches off Porter. Not many people back Sean Porter up. He did. He didn't let his ground go at all. He took the centre of the ring and he didn't budge at all. And I think if Porter, the Rhino, the absolute steam train that is Porter, can't back Ugas out, I'm not sure Spence can, because I don't think Spence, although he's got a good output, has got the work rate that Porter's got, or the pressure that Porter's got, or the punch power that Porter's got. I think Spence gets you out of there because he times you and counters you so well. And he had lightning hand speed, but that seems to have gone. So, I mean, I can see Ugas holding that centre of the ring and almost Spence almost doing like an alley on him, just dancing around the ring and just jabbing him and timing him and trying to get out the engagement, the firefight. Because make no mistake about it, if Spence tries to go to war with this guy, I think Ugas is going to, like I say, win that exchange. Probably floor him, and probably get a deserved point win. So there's a lot of options here going on this fight. It's not clear cut as, Spence is going to stop him. I'm not sure. Again, he's been out the ring 18 months now. That he hasn't got the momentum of, say, a peak Spence, or I call a peak Spence, going into that Brook fight, fighting regularly, sharp, fresh. He hasn't got that. And, it's good to see that. I don't think his weight's fluctuated as much as it did prior to Danny Garcia. He stayed in good nick. But, I mean, Ugas is determined. And he's riding the career wave now. There's no question about it. But, I mean, Ugas can get hit. He's not a Floyd Mayweather. He stands, he wants to fight, he wants to engage. So, I'm not saying Spence can't win this. And, obviously, if the Spence of 2007 rocks up, 17 rocks up, then Ugas is going to be in trouble, and I think he could get stopped on the ropes because Ugas can't fight back. I'm just saying, I'm pretty confident in saying I don't think you're going to get that Spence. You just do the maths, just do the logic, and I think with Spence being a bit off, I think that plays into Ugas' hand. I can see in this fight being a very, very controversial points win for Spence. Because, it's Premier Boxing, let's be honest. Spence is the home fighter. Spence is still the golden boy. Spence is still the big money draw. And when it comes to fighting Crawford, that's going to be a huge fight. But I don't think he's a huge draw at the moment. But, if he fights in his hometown, he'll draw. But outside of that, I'm not sure. But obviously, that's what they're going to do. They're looking for to get that Crawford fight. So they're not going to, unless it's an absolute one-sided beatdown, which I don't think. It'll be competitive, but I think Ugas will get robbed. I think I can see that happening. And I don't see how Ugas will get a points win, which is very sad to say, but that's the state of boxing, unfortunately. Now, I think, if you look back with Ugas, he kind of had a few silly defeats, what I call silly defeats, early on in his career, where I think he was just, unmotivated. He's never been stopped. He's lost on points, he's lost to, sort of journeyman, really. Sort of Iman and Robles, Emmanuel Robles, and probably younger, unmotivated, and that's one thing with Ugas. But if you look at his credentials, sort of bronze in Olympic Games, gold in the Pan American, brilliant as all Cubans have, really, brilliant. Amateur background, and not battle worn. He's only had 25 fights, which isn't a whole lot, and he's had a year out since the Pacquiao fight, or nearly, 8 months. So that's time to recoup and regroup. And I think he's not. I think being eight months out is okay. Being 18 months out, like Spence has, that's more of an issue. So I think, Ugas is I think, fresher, barring because he hasn't had many really wars apart from the Porter fight. I think the Pacquiao fight was a good fight, but he didn't take a whole lot of damage off a faded Pacquiao, really, did he? He wasn't in a whole lot of trouble. I know Pacquiao probably won 4 rounds or something, but there's a lot going in Ugas' favour. That's what I'm trying to say. I think he's fresher. He hasn't taken the damage of a car crash, for instance. He hasn't been in many wars. I think you get the best out of him, a bit like Tyson Fury and Billy Joe. You get the best out of him, the bigger the fight. And this is, make no mistake about it, a unification fight. This is going to put him probably right up there. I was going to say, top welterweight. It'll push him number 2, and it'll probably put him in the top 10 pound for pound. That's how good a win this will be. So it's all to play for, and then he can demand the paydays, can't he? He can demand the pay-per-view fight. So it's big for him. And at 35, he's a fresh 35, but he realises it's now or never. I think he's a much better fighter, to when he was maybe in 2013-14 when he took them losses. For me, he beat Porter. Like I say, it was a close fight, but he won that, dominating the 12th round. He's been unbeaten in 8 years as far as I'm concerned. And he's rangy, he's tall, he's clever. He doesn't just rush in. He can also counter you. He can see punches coming. He's got a good defence, but, I'm not saying Rigondo defence for a Cuban. Normally you expect him to be very, very good, but because he stands and wants to trade, because he's so much bigger and stronger than so many welterweights, he's there to be hit a bit more. But, he's got good boxing skills. He's got good overhand right. He can punch with his left out. He can go to the body as well. He went to Porter's body. He can time you. He can make you miss. He can make you pay. He likes fighters to come onto him. But then again, so does Spence. So that's going to be something that they're going to work out, isn't it? But I think, ultimately, Ugas needs to develop his jab more in this fight, because I think Spence will try and keep this at distance. I think he'll try and outbox and outmaneuver Ugas. I think, unlike the Porter fight, where Ugas' jab was almost non-existent at times, he needs to develop that to set up the right hand, because Porter can see... Spence will see things coming. He's a smart fighter, and unlike Crawford, I don't think he's quite as good as Crawford doing this, but he can adapt. So, Ugas needs to come with plan A, plan B, and plan C to win this fight, but I think he can do it. And I think if he puts it on Spence, if he sets him up and then puts it on him, if he lands that overhand right and shows that he can get Spence hurt early on, I think he'll grow in confidence. I can see this being a very, very ugly fight for Spence. It's not going to be a pretty fight. But, either we get the dominant display from Spence, he rocks up and, turns back the clock. You're like, my God, he's back. He backs Ugas up, like I say, and stops him on the ropes around 5 or 6. Or I see it being quite a scrappy, ugly fight with Ugas having successfully overhand right, holding the centre of the ring, and winning a points victory, a deserved points victory, but probably not getting the victory. So I can see controversy here. I can see a Ugas deserved victory, but I don't think he'll get it. I think it will be Spence, unanimous decision. I don't think there's enough evidence to show he's going to turn back the clock to a 2017 performance. That Spence, like I say, would stop Ugas, I think. Back Ugas up, and then Ugas will be in trouble. But I think it's going to be more of the same Spence we've seen over the last 2 years, and I think he'll do enough in the judges' eyes to get the victory. But like the Porter fight, I think many of the public will go, no, Ugas won that fight. He should have got it. Will it be a rematch? It'll be interesting. I think that will depend on alhaymon and PBC to see the look at the draw, look at how much money it generates. I mean, Ugas still isn't a huge name, so I don't think there's a rematch clause in there, so it's unlikely. But maybe the public demand it after what I think will be a very controversial point win for Spence. But I think Ugas deserves to win it on points, and I think ultimately, in many's eyes, Ugas will win a points decision. He just won't get it. A bit like his Sean Porter fight.